stick around and watch it. So what I want to talk about today, I'm going to show you a bunch of work, and I don't know how much you guys know about advertising agencies, or even what you might call the creative fields in business. But I want to start by saying that there was recently a big poll done with 1,500 of the top CEOs in America. And what came out of that was that they all agreed that the #1 leadership competency in the business for the future of America is creativity. So think about that for a minute. It's a pretty shocking statistic, actually, that 1,500 of the top guys that are running these massive businesses, the IBMs of the world, these big, huge businesses, actually believe that creativity is the most important trait for a leader in the future. So what I'm going to talk to you today is about creativity, but it's not just about creating ads and creating films and things like that. It's about approaching business from a very creative standpoint and solving problems creatively. Whenever I think about creativity, I think about this guy, Abraham Lincoln. He wrote the Gettysburg Address in the train ride on the way to Gettysburg. Okay, so here's the catch to that. That train ride was 2.5 days long. Okay, so he had all that time. Think back then, there was nothing. He wasn't checking his cell phone like you guys are all doing right now. He wasn't on his computers, right? I mean, he certainly wasn't doing this, right? And I mean, I think this is great. It helps us communicate quicker, but we get a bit obsessed with it, right? So on Twitter, I need to pee. Why are we telling people that? I don't know. You know, Facebook, I just peed. Foursquare, this is where I pee. You know, Google, why am I peeing? YouTube, look at this pee. And LinkedIn, of course, my favorite, I'm good at peeing. So I got to hire that guy. So why are we obsessed with this? I don't know. The point is that we need time. Creativity takes time and nurturing, right? I think that in order to come up with great ideas, in the end of the day, creativity is just a means to an idea, right? So we need time and we need to nurture ideas. And how do we do this? Well, one of the things we do here at Grey, and I'll just tell you quickly about the place you're in right now. It's Grey Advertising. It's been around for 95 years. I got here about 4.5 years ago. It was in a bit of a low point at the time. There were about 380 people there at the time. We're about over 1,000 people now. So we've had a lot of growth, and I really believe that one of the ways we've done that is strictly through creative problem solving. You probably all know Fast Company magazine. For the last 2 years, we've been named as one of the 50 most innovative companies in the world by this magazine. And again, I think that we got to that position not through classic business methodology, but really through attacking things creatively. And as you guys go forward in the various career fields that you're going to go into after your careers in athletics, how will you attack that from a creative perspective? I'll quickly show you this. This is a 3-minute video. When we meet prospective clients and we go out and try to sell ourselves, this is the only thing we show. We don't say anything else about ourselves. I think that one of the classic problems in business is that we all try to oversell what we do, try to convince everybody in the world that we're great. I always say push play, show me why you're great, don't tell me. So we just push play, and this is what we show every prospective client that we meet.
Welcome to 3-Minute Grey. Okay, let's begin with a brief history of advertising agencies. There are typically two kinds, those who make famous work and those who make effective work, and never the two shall meet. The artists and the accountants, the freaks and the geeks. But at Grey, we do both famous and effective, and we have been for 94 years, because we believe in making our clients remarkable and rich. Really rich. Really? Prove it. Okay, see this dude? We fathered him. Then he puked on the Super Bowl and quickly found himself in just about every major news program, blog, magazine, newspaper, and website in America. 40 million YouTube views later, he was voted the best ad campaign in 2008 and 2009 by the Wall Street Journal, and just helped E-Trade to the best year in the company's history, famous and effective. Next, P&G needed help dusting off one of their beauty brands, and bam, we bum rushed pop culture with easy, breezy, beautiful CoverGirl. Wait a minute, Ellen, Drew, Queen Latifah, not exactly your expected teenage bombshells, but these ladies bucked the category norm, and CoverGirl has grown to become America's largest cosmetics brand. Okay, great. Okay, wait, let's go hair and let's go global. One message, one look, one feel everywhere. Take a tiny $12 million shampoo born out of medical science and make it shine. The result, the $3 billion global phenomenon Pantene. Now that's some crazy, sexy hair, people. Shake it, shake it. Now for some man stuff, NFL style. A whole season of ads with no players and no football? What? Are you crazy? Nope, we're just going to show the fans all year long. Top it off with got the Super Bowl spot starring Seinfeld, Homer, and the Fonz, and you've got the NFL's single most successful season in the history of the league, highest TV viewership ever, and record sales for all 11 business units. Famous, effective. All right, how about retail in a declining segment? Fret not, young Padawan. When you're here, your family. Olive Garden arrived at Gray with just a handful of restaurants. Now they got 650 locations and over 14 straight years of consecutive growth. Hands down, the most successful casual dining story in history. And you thought never-ending breadsticks were impressive? Well, actually they are. But can you say erectile dysfunction? We can with pride. Drum roll, please, for Cialis. One couple, 2 tubs, and the single most recalled image in pharmaceutical advertising. 75% unaided awareness and the fastest-growing brand in the category, domestically and around the world. Famously effective, oh daddy, yes it is. Speaking of hot brands, here's one for you. Don't just watch TV, direct TV. In just 18 months, this tagline and the insanely cinematic ads surrounding it completely repositioned DirecTV as the premium television provider in America. Soon, the Russian billionaire as Mini Giraffe and their wildly successful website even had the Huffington Post and CNBC crediting this campaign as a major reason for DirecTV's stock hitting all-time highs. Opulence, we has it. We're also socially conscious, which is why we're the exclusive agency partner of the TED Conference, helping them market their mind-bending and world-changing ideas for people like Al Gore, Bill Gates, and Bono. And as long as we're name-dropping, Gray was just named along with Facebook, Apple, and Google as one of the 50 most innovative companies in the world by Fast Company magazine. Okay, maybe there is something to this famously effective thing. So just for kicks, let's go old school. Lay down a few tracks off of Gray's Greatest Hits LP or 8-track or whatever the case was when these were born. The Greyhounds,
Leave the driving to us.
the Kool-Aid Man, Calgon, Take Me Away, The Downy Drop, and Choosy Moms Choose Jif. And guess what? We were even the first to put a woman in a bra on TV from Playtex. So who are we? 500 passionate, innovative minds in our New York headquarters, not to mention 10,000 employees in 150 cities around the globe. Here's a comfy thought. 1/4 of the Fortune 100 are our clients. And we don't dig one-night stands, so our client relationships are 8 times longer than the industry average. What we do dig is creating effective, iconic ideas that sustain a long burn for years and even decades. And we've been doing it since 1917, and that's a long time. This is a long video. Our 3 minutes is up. The end.
So the reason I show you that, thank you. The reason I show you that is the power of creativity. If I would have sat up here and gave you a fucking really long, boring talk about how great Gray is, you wouldn't have listened. But by the end of that, you were all watching it because it's interesting. It's a creative presentation of what we do every day. And I think that whatever skills you have, you know, you never have a second chance to make a first impression. You got to get in front of people and in a creative way tell them what you do. So I hear this a lot, you know, is where you work like Mad Men. Well, you guys have actually been in the building, so you know it's nothing like that, other than I'm really drunk right now. So this is where we work. So this was the Daily News, the New York Daily News did this spread on this building and on what we do here at Gray. This is very rare. They almost never, ever write about advertising agencies in the Daily News. But again, the space itself is interesting. Nobody has an office, including myself, in the entire place. We have very long, you've seen the desks, very long sort of picnic-style desks because we believe in collaboration. I personally believe that ideas are like living organisms. I mean, you know, if you take a person and you put them in a tiny room with walls around them, it's not going to grow much, right? Well, if you take an idea and put walls around it, it's probably not going to grow either. So we like to have the flow of the idea go through the building and it can grow as it goes. Call it radical collaboration. I think that in today's day and age, you know, especially in the digital era with the millennials, how many are, like, all of you under 30? Huh? Over or under? Okay.
It's a mix.
Okay. So you're under 30. Over. Okay. 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 So millennials are under 30 essentially. So the new generation, they're coming up in the business world. They're incredibly collaborative. They really believe in teamwork. I'm Gen X. I'm 40 years old. And you know, Gen X, we were about as opposite of that as you can get, right? Like I grew up and it was all about me. And you know, I really didn't want to talk to my parents. Now kids like really like their parents, which is weird. But they are very collaborative, and we believe in this here. I'll just skip this. Everybody know of course, everybody knows the Beatles. I have a funny Beatles story, but I'm not going to tell it. Okay. However, and just one thing I want to say about collaboration is, you know, although it's great to work with people and it's great to feed off of people and create ideas together, I also believe in occasionally being radically uncollaborative, which means sometimes you just have to believe in what you think and put it out there, right? So if you believe it and you think it's great and you believe in your heart, don't try to impress your buddy. Don't try to impress your boss. Don't try to impress whoever. Just impress yourself and put that idea out there. And I think oftentimes those are the best ideas. Oftentimes, however, those can also lead to heroic failures. And I really believe in this. I'm going to tell you one from my own history. I used to run the Cadillac account. So when I worked on Cadillac, we were launching the Escalade, and actually, one of the things that really helped the Escalade was, in fact, the NFL, because all the NFL players, many of the NFL players were driving Escalades. They were appearing in all the rap videos, and it really actually helped to take that brand up a notch and to make Cadillac what it was. Anyway, we had a Super Bowl spot. Super Bowl spot, 132nd. It was a 60-second commercial. It's about $6 million we're spending just on the media, just for that 60 seconds. It's about a $3 million commercial production-wise. You're at $9 million already, right? Just to do this one commercial, and it sucked. Okay, and it was terrible, and we got fired. And the New York Times wrote about it that we got fired. A $300 million account. We got fired because of this one commercial, apparently, and they put my name in the article, so that was nice. But so that's a heroic failure. It's only heroic because when I came, right after that, I came here and created the E-Trade baby. And without that experience of the failure on Cadillac, I don't think I would have had the guts to come here and do something like the E-Trade baby. But here at Grey, we do really, we sort of urge our people to take risks. So whereas in a lot of business organizations, any sort of risk-taking is sort of crushed. And that's bad. So going outside of the lines is bad. Trying things I've never done is bad. Here, it's great. So we actually have a heroic failure trophy. So if you do something that, at the spirit of it, it's awesome, and it's a really great idea, but it totally fails, that's all right. We're still going to reward you with this trophy. And just a quick one on this. The first winner of this trophy, we were pitching. So if you have seen Mad Men, you see they pitch business all the time. We were pitching something called Litter Genie. Does anyone know what Litter Genie is? It's like this trash can that hermetically seals, and you put your cat shit in there, and you can just seal it, and then you keep putting your cat shit in there, and you seal it, and it never smells. So you never have to throw out your cat, apparently. Okay? Like Diaper Genie, right. But it's Litter Genie. There you go. So one of our account people thought a really great idea would be to go to the zoo and get panther shit, not just cat shit, but panther shit. Fill the entire Litter Genie with this, seal it, and then throughout the entire 2-hour pitch with the client across the table, who we had never met, she put it under the table. To prove, after 2 hours, by the way, look under the table. There's a bunch of panther shit in there, and you couldn't even smell it. So anyway, the CMO, the head guy on the client side, had pretty severe OCD. He freaked out, ran out of the room, and we never heard from him again. So anyway, we gave her the trophy because I thought it was a brilliant idea. So that's a heroic failure award, which we give. But one thing I also say about failing is always fail fast. The long, drawn-out failures, not so good, right? So if you're going to fail, do it fast and get on with life. Here's an example of that. You all know the E-Trade baby. This is my favorite E-Trade ad ever, and none of you have seen it because the client killed it. But you're going to see it now. So this never aired.
Hey, it's my friend Benny.
What's cracking?
So Benny, tell the people about your experience with the broker.
Well, I paid him a lot of money to do anything for me, basically.
Oh, that's terrible, man.
Yes.
And tragically, because of all the money spent on fees, Benny can't even afford to hire a barber to tighten his fro.
Humidity makes it unruly.
So, right? I think that's the best E-Trade ad ever. Our client thought it was racist. Is that racist? I don't think it's racist. Is it racist? You think it is racist? Okay, well then that would have been then if we would have run it, it would have been a not so heroic failure, I guess. But so one other side note, I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but this is something we did in the election. That's McCain on the right. That's Obama. And the line is very simple: let the issues be the issue. So we put this out with no advertising whatsoever. It got seen we put it out 5 days before the election. And it got seen by 37 million people around the world online. It was basically on the cover of almost every magazine and newspaper. And what's interesting about this, by the way, I think McCain looks way cooler as a black dude, personally. But the funny thing about this is the Republican Party came out and said that Obama did this ad. What's interesting to me about that is this is a bipartisan ad. This isn't an ad for Democrats, right? This is just saying judge the man by the man, right? Not by the color of his skin. Very, very simple, an old adage, of course, but that's all it's saying. So this is not for one party or another, but it's interesting to me that the Republican Party actually thought it was aimed at them. So many of you are probably thinking I'm sure, right? I hear this all the time. I even hear this in this industry, which is supposedly a creative industry, which is I'm not creative. And the only thing I want to say about that is what I started this whole talk with. 1,500 of America's top CEOs are putting creativity as the #1 leadership competency of the future. So if you're out there saying you're not creative, I wouldn't be shouting it from the rooftops, right? Because you're going to have a hard time getting a job. You have to attack things creatively. This is where the world is going. Doesn't mean you have to write E-Trade ads. It means that you have to solve problems from a creative perspective. And we do that in every department here. So I happen to come from the creative side. I'm now president of the agency. But whether it's creative or whether it's the account group or whether it's the media group or whether it's our planning and strategy group, all of them are tasked with solving things creatively. This is one of my favorite, this is a Picasso painting. And Picasso said every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once he grows up. And I think that's a really interesting thing, because think about it, like every single one of us did those horrible finger paintings, right? But our parents thought they're amazing. They put them on the refrigerator and said, oh my God, my child is so creative, right? Because at the time we were playing with things, we were creating stories, we were making paintings. Why don't we do that anymore? I have no idea, but most of us don't. And I think that it is, creativity can solve any problems we have out there. You guys may have seen this sign. It's a big, huge sign when you first walk in. But at the end of the day, it's about ideas, right? So gray people talk about ideas. Average people talk about things. Small people talk about other people. And this is kind of what we live by here. If we're going to be talking about something, let's make it about ideas. Let's make it an interesting conversation. And so there's two parts to this talk. The first is just that. I'm done. Thank you. But the second is I want to just share a bunch of work with you guys. Because all of that I just talked about, really, again, I believe in just showing this stuff. So talk is talk and talk is cheap. So you have to have the work to back it up. So I'm going to just show you some stuff, and I'll give you a little background story behind each one of these things. The first thing I'm going to show you is for DirecTV. We've been working with this client for about 2 years and completely changed the trajectory of their business. And there's been a couple reasons for that. This is I'll show you a little background story on this particular campaign, which is the mini giraffe and the Russian oligarch. And this is just one of those very odd campaigns that when I saw it, and we even finished the ad, and I saw the ad for the first time, I thought it was funny. I had no idea it would take on sort of the cultural phenomenon that it became. So here's a quick backstory to that.
Opulence, I acid. I like the best. Yes, but I also like savings the money. So when DirecTV tell me 5 months free for most premium televisions package, I jump in it.
Switch to DirecTV and get 5 months free. Go anytime at DirecTV.
Opulence. DirecTV has it. And apparently everybody wants it. Which is why this bizarre Russian oligarch have over 3 million views on the YouTubes. The world took notice.
Opulence. Opulence.
I have it.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Opulence. I have it.
Keep taking on the team from Moscow. Opulence. High exit.
And then he's got this giraffe on the pillow.
I like God's maker, but I also like savings and money.
Then we sent the Russian to MTV Video Music Awards in character. Forbes then mistakenly listed him as a real billionaire on their website. Huffington Post used his picture to illustrate mood on Wall Street. And now even birthplace of giraffe getting action. In just over 1 week of going live, Petite Lab Giraffe Breeder site get more than 10 million views. Visitors in almost every country watch real live giraffe cam from Russia. Even 1-800 number get crazy 2,000 calls every day. Over 1 million people and counting sign up to get very own giraffe. The site become literal overnight sensation.
And now our favorite story of the day, how a teeny weeny tiny four-legged animal is taking over the web.
DirecTV has produced a tremendous viral site called PetiteLapGiraffe.com. It's not for real, unfortunately, but what is real is DirecTV's growth. They've added 4.1 million subscribers, shares of the stock approaching all-time highs.
And what's next? A request from the Fox network for a television pilot starring the man and his diminutive pet. Thank you for watching.
So that's the oligarch and the giraffe. The interesting thing there is we did the one commercial, had no idea. Once it started taking off, we jumped on, grabbed the momentum, immediately made that website. And then my mom called me and actually thought it was like animal abuse. She actually thought they were real and said, "Why are you selling these little giraffes?" So anyway, and then here's a couple other things. And then the interesting thing about a brand like DirecTV is you can go out there with a lot of different kind of voices. So that was a fun one. You guys have probably seen this as well.
When your cable company keeps you on hold, you get angry. When you get angry, you go blow off steam. When you go blow off steam, accidents happen. When accidents happen, you get an eye patch. When you get an eye patch, people think you're tough. When people think you're tough, people want to see how tough. And when people want to see how tough, you wake up in a roadside ditch. Don't wake up in a roadside ditch. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV. When you have cable and can't record all your shows, you feel unhappy. When you feel unhappy, you go to happy hour. When you go to happy hour, you're up for anything. When you're up for anything, you head to a Turkish bathhouse. When you head to a Turkish bathhouse, you meet Charlie Sheen. And when you meet Charlie Sheen, you reenact scenes from Platoon with Charlie Sheen. Don't reenact scenes from Platoon with Charlie Sheen. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV.
So that's been a bit of a hit. Here's one that's not out yet. Another little sneak peek. This is my favorite one, actually.
When you have cable and your picture freezes, you get irritable. When you get irritable, your work suffers. When your work suffers, the wrong man is convicted. When the wrong man is convicted, he has time to think. When he has time to think, he thinks about you. And when he thinks about you a lot, don't have your house exposed.
So that's fun. So that one air. I think that starts airing in a couple of weeks. Let me just show you a couple more. All right. So here's a list of a lot of stuff that we do. I'm trying to think of what you guys might want to see. We got a lot of NFL. I don't know if you guys. I'm going to show you a couple of the NFL things we did because I really love this. Here's a Super Bowl spot we did. That's just for any. Oh, not sure how I'm going to be able to. Oh, there we go. You guys probably remember this was a Super Bowl spot. But this is an interesting thing. So we went to the NFL. This was a couple years ago, and we didn't have we weren't working with them at the time. We brought them one idea. We did a pitch with only one idea, which is very rare. But we said what we want to do is we want to go and there's something called a phantom camera. The phantom camera shoots film at about 4,000 frames a second, which basically means it's about 20 to 30 times slower than the NFL has ever shot the sport, right? Or any professional sport has ever shot the sport. And so we went, and they loved the idea, so we went and we did a couple tests and showed them that this was going to work. The key was you had to have these cameramen on the field at the right place at the right time. So a couple years ago, you guys remember when the Saints won the Super Bowl, we got this shot in I think the third or fourth week of the season. And there happened to be a cameraman using the camera in the corner of the end zone when this happened, and we knew immediately. We said, that is the Super Bowl spot. Sure enough, just so happens that the Saints went and won the Super Bowl that year, which helped this a lot. But this is pretty amazing. So one of you were in that game? Was someone in that game? You were in that game? Wow. You weren't the dude that got jumped over, were you? Let's see. A couple just other really, I mean, there's some really gorgeous stuff from that. I love this one. From that whole season. This is nice.
And thus it was foretold that Zeus would be the king of all the gods, for he was the one hurling the thunderbolts.
So what's interesting about these is it's nothing new, right? We've all seen football, we've all seen it in slow motion, but you've never seen it quite like that. And then the last one, which I absolutely love. This one is just amazing to me. Can't believe how high this guy is. So just a kind of a nice way to show the sport. Is there anything else you guys want to? What's that? Oh, Obama. We've seen that. That's that actually. That. Which one?
The picture. Camera banner.
Wait, which one?
It's the Olympic.
Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. So this is actually something that is coming out for cover. This also has never been seen, but this is coming out for CoverGirl. So this is kind of dope. I like this. It's for the Olympics. So that'll come out in June, I think. Let me see. So I think that's it. So I'm sort of done with that. There's a ton of other work, and you can always, if you're at all interested, you can always go to our website and it's all on there. But do you guys have any questions for me about? Yes.
You guys do pro bono?
Pro bono. We do, as long as it's a good client. Huh?
Good client.
Yeah.
You are a good client.
If you're a non-paying client, you have to be really good and you have to buy every idea we give you.
And what does that start at?
What do you mean? It's free.
Like, okay, so like say for example, one of us in here wanted a commercial, 30-second spot, what would that cost?
I mean, it depends. I mean, the most important thing about any commercial is where you're going to run it, right? And I think if you're going to buy television space, it's really expensive. You know, I mean, you guys know this, well documented. This year, 30 seconds on the Super Bowl will be $4 million. That's a Super Bowl, so that's a whole different story. But even like, you know, if you're going to go on a primetime ABC show, I mean, you're looking at, you know, $300,000, $400,000 just to run a commercial. Just run it, you know. And it can be anything. I mean, some of the stuff I showed you, you know, some of the E-Trade stuff is very, very inexpensive. You know, you just go shoot a baby and do a little animation with a mouth and you're done, you know. It's very inexpensive, actually. So it depends. I mean, you can go from, I mean, we've done great commercials for $10,000, you know. We've done great commercials for free. Or you can spend, you know, oh, actually, I'll show you one. You guys might remember this one. Sorry. I just love this commercial. This was a very expensive commercial.
Watching in any room.
So I wanted to show you that. I want to show you that just because that, and there's a much longer version. I thought I was going to show you the longer. There's a longer version of that, but that's like a $2 million commercial. You know, I mean, just all those effects and the freeze and the, yeah. So it can go cheap and it can go expensive. The great thing about getting your message out now, though, I mean, now as in today versus, say, even 5 years ago before social media was really huge, is you can actually do stuff. Like how many, I'm curious, how many of you have seen the ad for Chipotle? That's like Willie Nelson singing does anyone know that? It's like an animated thing. I was just curious because it's never really aired on television, I don't think, but it's a very popular commercial online. It's got millions of views. So the good thing is you don't really have to buy television media anymore, but you do have to, you got to make a piece of communication that's compelling. And the great thing is you can now put that online as long as you can find the right place for it. It can be seen and it can become viral. And I mean, 10 million people went to the Mini Giraffe website in a week. 10 million people. We never advertised it. You know, it just like a couple people picked it up on Facebook, started shooting it around. Next thing you know, that's the beauty of, and the danger too, because if the wrong thing gets passed around. Yes?
How many people do you have working on different accounts? Like, say the DirecTV,
yeah.
The creative aspect of that, is that 2, 3, 5, 10 people?
I have it arranged a little differently where I try to make sure people can touch a lot of different kinds of brands, because I think you get very bored if you're only working on one thing. But generally, I would say, DirecTV is a pretty big brand here. I'd say it's like top 10 in size. And it's, I'd say creatives, there's probably about 8 creatives, that work on that very consistently. But they do DirecTV does about probably like 15 television commercials a year. And that's a lot. That's like more than one a month. So, and then they do a lot of other stuff too, huh?
For the smaller accounts, is it just?
Usually it's, a creative director team, meaning a team that's kind of overseeing all the creative, and then usually maybe one team under them, like a younger junior team for a smaller account. Yeah, so it's usually between, 3 devoted people to 8. 8 is probably the most we have on anything. But that's just creative. So keep in mind, you also have, strategy, which is, that's probably not worth getting into today. But I'm sure, you have to have what is the strategy for the brand? I mean, what are you trying to sell? How are you going to, you do a lot of research, you talk to a lot of consumers, and you say, what's interesting to you? So for instance, when E-Trade is a great example. The insight there, it wasn't like we just showed up one day and said, hey, use a talking baby. Oh, God, that's what I got to show you. This will be fun. It wasn't like we just showed up one day and said, what's going on here? We want to do a talking baby for this financial company, because it makes no sense. But in context of what was going on in the financial world at the time, and nobody trusted anything with finances. When the economy was tanking, people didn't, they didn't want to go to, they didn't trust Wall Street, they didn't trust their bank. Everyone was pulling their money out of the market, and they also just were terrified of investing online. Because it's like online investment, where does my money go? It's not real money. I'm clicking a button. Where does that go? I don't have a broker. I have no one holding my hand during this whole process. So we created the baby. And I'll just show you quickly, because you guys may remember a lot of this, but this is a fun little 3-minute deal here.
A lot of people are like, aren't you too young to invest in the markets? And hey, don't worry about it. You know, man, be in these E-Trades. Check it, click it. I just bought stock. You just saw me buy stock. No big deal. I mean, if I can do it, you can do it.
Whoa. It's so easy. There are 1,000 new accounts a day at E-Trade.
E-Trade ads with the talking baby.
The E-Trade ad. Guess what? Today that baby was adopted by Angelina.
That E-Trade commercial with the little boy that goes on and does his trade. That is just sheer genius.
E-Trade babies.
And E-Trade, the E-Trade one. The little E-Trade baby.
Love them always is that E-Trade baby.
Hold on. It's that baby that trades stocks. I love this kid. That was a cute baby.
Oh, bad girl.
Frank, it was on the cart path. Why don't you try reading the rules, Shankopotamus? Wait. Bobby, what are you doing, man?
I'm speed dating.
Look, it's a terrible dancer. He's actually right, but what up, Mike? Hey, dude. Yeah, that's how he dances. Dude, it's broken. No. I want to punch the economy in the face.
Mom puts me in timeout. This is bullshit. Complete bullshit. Oh my goodness.
Dude. Just a man and his thoughts. And a smartphone. With an E-Trade app.
The boys are talking about what to do with all this extra coin. I was like, I'm ready to clown. And I did. A Bobo here. And I really underestimated the creepiness.
Volatility in the market. Taken care of. Wolf style.
And that milkaholic Lindsay wasn't over?
Lindsay?
Milka what? This is ridiculous.
She thinks that is so obviously her that Lohan is now suing E-Trade. Good luck with that one.
Does she have a mental problem, narcissism, or is this a pure PR ploy? It just seems kind of silly. I need something to prove.
Lindsay says she's suing you for $100 million because your commercial hurt her career.
What career?